So, how do you think AI will change SEO this year?
I look at SEO as already been changing. And what I mean by that is most people are like, oh, Google's a search engine that everyone uses. There's roughly 45.1 billion searches a day that take place on the web. Google controls roughly 18-ish% market share with 8.5 billion searches. Instagram has 6.5. I think Amazon is at 3 or 3.5. And there's quite a few searches that happen on all platforms. ChatGPT is around a billion a day. The Amazon App Store, I mean, the Apple App Store is roughly at 500 million a day. So what you're having is SEO has changed from search engine optimization to search everywhere optimization. And what people are now doing is they're optimizing for their rankings on Google, these AI platforms, on social media. These social platforms have better search now because of AI, right? They're all leveraging this technology. And most people, when they would answer the question, they would talk about how AI and technology and tools can be used to affect SEO or make it better, right? I think the biggest change that's going to impact businesses is because of all this AI technology, search is getting better on all platforms. People are searching on all platforms. So now people have to optimize their sites, their content to rank everywhere. So, for example, on Google, you rank your site. On YouTube, you're ranking a video. On Instagram, if someone types in handbag, if you're Louis Vuitton, you want your handbags to show up versus someone else, even if it's top of funnel and you're not selling a handbag on Instagram, right? And same with social media. I mean, these chatbots, the AI chatbots, if someone's typing in questions related to business or a product or service, people want their companies to show up.
So, right now, do you think that some people are thinking too small in terms of just focusing on Google instead of focusing on all these platforms and going omni-channel?
That's correct. You have to go omni-channel. That's the only way to win in today's world.
Makes sense. Do you see any more market share being lost for Google in 2025?
Percentage wise, yes. Do I think there's going to be less searches a day happening on Google over time? Time will tell, but I actually think Google will continually grow and become more powerful. It's just like saying, hey, is Facebook dead now that there's an Instagram, right? I know they eventually bought Instagram and now there's a Snapchat. Facebook themselves, I'm not talking about Meta, the company, I'm talking about Facebook. Facebook's revenue overall has grown over the years. There's still other social channels. Does Facebook control the lion's share of social media usage? Yes. Do they control them as much as they did in the past, percentage wise? No, because there's so many options. But what's happening is Facebook is still growing, but the whole overall market is growing at a rapid pace and their percentage of ownership is smaller, but yet Facebook is still bigger than they were, call it 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, there's two things I'm seeing with that. Like, number one, like you were saying, for example, with Google, if you look at their share price, it's just increasing like exponentially over time. Like, it's growing all the time. And then number two is with the rise of AI, I actually think just search in general is going to expand. Because if it's easier to search, then there'll be more queries, right?
Correct. And it is
That's,
becoming easier to search. Little kids search when they're much younger, 3 years old, 2 when they start talking. They're searching on Alexa, the Google voice devices, right? Siri. They're asking questions and they're getting responses. We learn to search by typing. The younger generation has learned to search using their voice, and voice search is getting even better. Apple integrated OpenAI within their Siri, right, and within their phones, and it's better than it was before.
have you seen any interesting ways to optimize for AI search that might be different versus, say, optimizing for Google search or anything else?
We're actually seeing the factors being very, very similar. There's some other things that they like more, like brand mentions. We see them looking at reviews more. So the percentage on what they're focusing on may be a little bit different here or there, but the factors are very similar.
Yeah, it sounds good. So let's talk about your agency now. You've grown your agency, I think, to well over nine figures at this point. What's your journey to getting there?
Hiring really good people. See, To get to seven figures as an agency, a lot of it is like inbound and leads. You can do SEO, you can run paid ads. Um, Getting to eight figures, adding more services, you can, by being full service, you can really get there over time. It takes a while. To get to nine figures, a lot of it is relationship and RFP based. And if you don't have the relationships, you're not going to get included in the RFPs. So it comes down to hiring the right people.
And how do you hire an interview at that level?
You
I'm
just look
assuming
for people who work for the competitors that have continually got promoted because that means they're usually pretty good or the people found invaluable and start poaching them, assuming you need their role to be a role to be filled at your organization that they're qualified for.
let's say, for example, for me, I have a link building agency, right? So we're at the point where, yeah, we crossed seven figures a few years ago. We're at the point where we're scaling towards eight figures at this point. Would you recommend adding more services, or what's typically like the next step for someone like us?
How long do your customers last?
On average, 7 months.
That's the biggest problem. Your biggest problem isn't revenue generation, it's revenue retention. If you add in multiple services, your aim should be to keep a client for at least 4 years. Your numbers would change overnight if you're able to keep your customer for 4 years. And when you add them multiple services, not only are they staying longer, they're paying you more per month. So then you're making more revenue on a monthly basis, plus they're staying longer. Easier
So
said than done, of course, but that's really what you got to figure out. And just add those services and cross sell over time.
interested. So you would focus on adding more services to increase retention rates because they'd rely on you more.
Correct.
And in terms of figuring out which service to add, would you go directly to the client and ask them, or how would you feel that out?
Yeah, you do all the services that you know they're going to already pay for.
Makes
Like
sense.
a client could tell you, or you could just be like, we do their link building because they want SEO. Let's just offer the technical stuff too. Or offer the technical stuff. Now they need content. Oh, let's work on offering promotion on social media and email and all other kind of stuff. And you just keep adding on the services based on what's related to what you do and what you know they need and what they're
Yeah.
already willing to pay for.
Some people talk about like how you should stay focused on selling one service because there's so much work required to be great at one thing. I
I
can
don't
see
mean to
the
cut you off,
rationale.
but tell me one person who's selling one service as an agency that's built something that is worth hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars. It's very rare. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's very rare. I can name you a lot of agencies that do way more than nine figures and even 10 figures that offer multiple services.
Awesome. What's the biggest mistake you see most SEO agencies make?
The biggest thing is they focus on rankings. You can rank a website and get more traffic, but if that doesn't equate to more revenue, who cares?
So instead of focusing on converting the traffic, they're focusing on the vanity metrics.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? What are some mistakes you made growing your agency?
Expanded to too many regions too fast. Hired some of the wrong people over the years. Um, I would say those are probably the two big mistakes that we've made. Um, Three, not building out our enterprise division fast enough. I would say those are some of the big mistakes, but we really, we can always get better, but we didn't make tons of huge mistakes because early on we hired people from our space who have done well before, and they helped us solve problems before they became problems.
And that was by looking at your competitors and seeing who's been promoted along the years and then figuring out, okay, these are the right people to put in place.
Typically, yes. So let's say if someone worked for a competitor and they've been promoted multiple times, and then they work for another competitor and then they've been promoted multiple times. If two organizations found them valuable and kept promoting them, right? Because if they didn't find them valuable, why would they keep promoting them? There's a good chance they'll do well for you the third time, assuming they're in a role or they're looking to do a role that they A, already know, and B, that's what you're hiring for.
At the level that you're at, how do you spend your time?
A lot of M&A, a lot of marketing, a lot of speaking at conferences, a lot of marketing calls, a lot of client calls, a little of everything.
Yeah, I noticed that. Like for example, with you'll do podcasts even on smaller channels, right? Even on YouTube channels that have small audiences. Whereas some people might say like, "Oh, that's a low leverage task because it's not going to reach that many people." I was curious about your strategy there.
There is no strategy. We really take a approach that you never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to learn from, what deal is going to happen because of something. I'll give you a great example of this. I went to an event on this weekend, so call it 3, 4 days ago, okay? And someone asked me, "Why are you here? You're here, you're just teaching us all this stuff." And I'm like, just because I may be more successful in your eyes, right? I'm talking to the audience, doesn't mean I am. And just because I have more money, right? And that was their assumption. I'm not saying I do. It doesn't mean I actually doing it. And even if I did, who cares? Money isn't everything in this world. And I'm like, knowledge is priceless and you can learn from anyone in the room. Someone in the room taught me a business strategy in real estate, and I don't do real estate, full time. Um, but it helped to save a lot of money, and it more than made up for going to that event. And the point I'm getting at is you don't know who you're going to learn from. And so, no matter what opportunity you have, put 110% in, build the relationships, get to know people, and look what you'll learn at the same time. Like just, keep your eyes open and be willing to listen.
Yeah, I respect that. Makes sense. I was going to ask as well. Do you go in to any masterminds or have any coaches yourself?
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with masterminds. I don't really care for them too much. It's not my jam. I'm not saying they're bad or they're good. It's just not my jam.
Who do you like to learn from?
Anyone, right? Like I looked at your YouTube channel and seeing what you're doing before I did this interview. And I was like, oh, cool. All right. You're doing some stuff. You're getting some views. What can I learn from it? I need to dive in more. But just because I have more subscribers doesn't mean I'm doing something better than you. Doesn't mean I can't learn from you. Doesn't mean I can't get better by following some of your strategies. I think when someone believes they know it all is when they're pretty much screwed.
Yeah, 100%. No, I can see that from your approach. You're very open-minded, but a lot of humility too. I respect that.
Thank you.
What's what's the best hire you've ever made?
CEO. I took the president from iProspect and I made him our CEO. Technically, my co-founder did, and that really did change our business over the last 3, 4 years.
It's an interesting one because, like, I mean, I see a lot of like smaller companies, smaller like, agencies, and they feel like they could never hire a CEO. And then at the same time, you've got like people like you who will just go in and hire someone for CEO at a much more complex business. I would say. How would you approach
I
that?
don't know if my business is more complex. It's more so most founders, whether it's a small business or a large business, they like control and they like running the ship and they like the title. A CEO is the crappiest job in an organization. You have to deal with all the crap. Now, as a founder, hiring a CEO doesn't mean that you personally don't have to deal with the crap. It just means you have to deal with less crap and you may have to deal with other crap, right? But the point I'm getting at is, um, you got to go out there and just be willing to get your hands dirty, figure out what you're good at, and then hire for the stuff you're not good at. And I'm not the best manager, so I hired someone who's better than me at managing and running the thing.
Does the level of crap ever reduce, or does that expand exponentially?
Uh, so you're pretty much saying, does the crap go down that I have to deal with over time, or does it?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, well, from hiring a CEO, some of it has gone down, but as the organization grows, you have to deal with new crap and more of it. So some days are great, some days are bad. Just take it as it comes.
I noticed on the social media, so obviously you have a big following across pretty much every single platform that I've seen you on. For example, on YouTube, you focus mainly on shorts these days. and also live streams, from what I've seen from your main channel. Is there a reason for that?
We haven't had time to really get back into long format videos. You'll see that change mid-February. We'll be posting a lot more long form videos. So we've cranked that up in 2015. You'll start seeing that in mid to late February, all the way till the end of the year.
Nice. Any reason for switching, or just mostly the time situation? And
Time.
yeah,
I'm trying to cut back on traveling, spend more time creating content because I can reach the masses. Conversion per watcher isn't going to be as high as in person, but you know, then I get to travel a lot less, so which is nice.
this is one of the things that I'm considering because, for example, like last year, I did a lot of public speaking, and it's absolutely amazing to have a room full of like 300 or 500 people. At the same time, I can do one YouTube video, takes about 60 minutes to get it done, and it will reach like 20,000 people. And so I'm constantly like trying to balance between, okay, should I spend more time traveling and preparing for conferences, or is it more efficient to just focus on content creation and publishing on platforms?
Yeah, I don't have the answer. And the reason I say that is I think it's different for every person. It depends on the events you're going to, and if as your ideal audience, and it depends on the content you're creating. Is it really broad or is it specific towards your target audience? But I think it's something that is worth testing, and I'm testing that out very hard in 2025. My goal in 2026 is to almost travel none or zero or close to it.
Nice. How did you grow so big on TikTok? What was your strategy there?
Repost the content that we create for Instagram and all the other social channels. I don't even know my TikTok login. I don't even know if I've logged into TikTok. I'm just being honest. My team does it.
Awesome. There's a ton of marketers out there. I'd say, in that list of marketers, you're probably one of the biggest in the world. What got you there? And I know you've talked a lot about hiring. Would you still say it's the same process or anything else?
I don't think I'm one of the big marketers in the world. There's a lot of people who are in the space who have really big brands like the Seth Godins, the Gary Vaynerchuks, the Ogilvies, and the list goes on and on. Uh, I think what's helped me get to where I am, for whatever that may be, is I've just been doing it for a very long time and been consistent, and most people aren't. Like, just think about it. If you do something for 20 plus years, eventually something's going to work out. Most people aren't willing to do something for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, so true. I used to find that with YouTube. Like, for example, when we first started, I'd get like 200, 300 videos, 200 or 300 views a video for probably the first 3 years. And then it was one video that just literally grew the channel.
There you go. But if you gave up earlier, it wouldn't have worked out, right? Most people aren't willing to be persistent.
Yeah,
Forget
100%.
consistent. You got to be consistent as well, but people be consistent for a short while. They're not willing to be consistent and continually do it for 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, one guy that I really respect for doing that is Alex Hormozy. And I know he's mentioned he's friends with you on some
Ye-
podcasts, right?
Yeah, he's created content for a very long time and just cranked it out. It's been going well for him. He has a huge brand. It's good for him.
Definitely. But he mentioned he's friends with you on one of his podcasts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've met up quite a few times for dinner.
What's he like in real life?
The same as online. There's not much of a difference. And I don't mean that in a bad way. He's just a good, chill guy, but he's pretty transparent. What you see online is what you see offline. There's not much of a difference, like very brutally honest. I would say the biggest difference, if I had to name one, is he has a really good, funny personality. He has a good personality either way, but you can see more of his humor in person than you will online. And he has a really funny side.
What's next for you, like in your career?
Just continually grow NP Digital, acquire more businesses. I think we'll acquire at least 3 businesses in 2025. Goal is 5. So, and continually expand more globally into more services and regions.
Yeah, I think I saw in an interview you like to acquire a new business every quarter. Is that correct?
Yep.
And is that your main growth strategy?
Organic is the main. Mergers is the second, or M&A is the second uh, approach.
Okay, nice. And when you were first getting into that, like I know, for example, Answer the Public, that was something like 8.6 million, something like that, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, what we purchased it for, yeah.
How do you get into that space? Is that about hiring the right people? Because
No, my
spending that sort
background's
of money is
software, so that I was able to do myself with the team, of course, but that I was able to spearhead myself because my background software.
nice, nice. Do you ever want to retire?
Do I ever have a what?
Want to retire?
No, I enjoy what I'm doing. I don't think I could retire.
I respect that. I'm the same. I don't see myself ever retiring.
Yeah,
It's
I
an
think I'll
infinite
work
game.
till I'm dead.
Yeah,
Hopefully, that's a
100%.
long time from now, but I think I'll work for a very long time.
What's the best question you've ever been asked in an interview?
I can't think of a question. I've been offered answered a lot of different questions. Many were good. And most of my interviews are pretty unique where they ask me different things. Some of them same stuff, but people ask me different things all the time. Like you ask me, what's the difference between, how do you get an agency to nine figures? I haven't been asked a question like that in a while.
Yeah, the way that I see it is like these interviews, you can make them unique by seeing them as a consultation almost with a
Yeah.
person you never get to ask normally, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I've asked all the questions that I wanted to ask you today, so I appreciate you giving the no BS advice. Appreciate you jumping on. What's the
Thanks for
best
having
way?
me.
Thank you as well. What's the best
Awesome.
way to contact you?
NeilPatel.com. My social handles are Neil Patel. My ad agency is NP Digital.
Awesome. I'll leave the links in the description. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
If you want to get a free one-to-one SEO strategy session, feel free to get that link in the comments description. We'll show you how we take websites from zero to 145,000 visitors a month and generate thousands of dollars in sales on autopilot. On this free link building acceleration session, you'll get a free SEO domination plan, discover the secrets of SEO link building. We'll answer any questions you have one-to-one. You'll learn the best link building strategy for your website, plus how to quickly outrank your competitors in link building, and how to 10x SEO traffic based on what's working for us. Feel free to check that out. Link in the comments description. Appreciate you watching. Bye.